Hello! The first video that we're going to be doing on this channel is a major pet peeve of mine and probably most English teachers everywhere. I won't speak for all of us. We're all different, we're all a little bit weird, but I'm guessing that a lot of English teachers find this super annoying. Okay, the informal you. How do you get rid of the informal you? And I know that there are lesson plans all over the place on Teachers Pay Teachers. There are videos all over the place of how to get rid of the informal you, and yet it persists. In every paper, every year, we see, you. And I think to myself, why? Why is this still persisting despite all of the please do not use the informal you in your paper? So this is my little contribution to try to help stamp out this issue. Okay, theory number one. Let's define what the informal you is. First of all, let's say I'm talking to my friend. We're meeting up at a coffee shop. We're chatting, and I say, do you ever feel like you sleep all night and you wake up just as tired as when you went to bed? My friend's like, oh yeah, man, oh yeah, definitely. I definitely feel that. Yeah, you feel so unfocused and you just think to yourself, why? I just slept 8 hours. Why do I feel so crappy? And then you start to drink more coffee and you go throughout your day and you just feel unfocused. Okay. This is a perfectly normal conversation that people have probably had all the time. During the course of our informal conversations, we often refer to this you. You feel, you think, you know when, you ever have one of those days where you just can't get anything right? You ever have one of those days where you just think, yeah, I'm the boss, I'm awesome? Do you ever feel like you could totally have a conversation with a fictional character? So during the course of our informal conversations with our friends, our parents, our siblings, our workmates, or our coworkers, all these people, we use the informal you, and it is fine. It is a handy dandy way to try to express what we are trying to say and to ask the other person in the conversation, do you relate to me? Do you ever experience this thing that I am experiencing? We do this all the time, and it's absolutely fine. There's no problem with talking like that. You're not wrong, and it's not bad. However, does that conversation, that type of conversation, does it translate well to a formal paper that you might write for school, or you might write at university, or you might write for a newspaper, for example? It does not. Why does that informal you, why does that not translate well to formal writing? Well, there's a specific reason for that, and we're going to talk about it. In the first place, let's talk about the difference between having a conversation with someone in your life and making an argument on paper. They are different things. They are different genres of language use. So let's look at this. You're having a conversation with your friend. You ever have one of those days where you just feel like you're running late always? Yeah, I definitely have one of those days. I had one this morning. It was terrible. Oh man, and then you get up and you think, oh, I don't even have time for coffee, but today's a day where I desperately need coffee. Okay, that conversation, what was the purpose of that? Well, you're trying to empathize with one another. You're trying to relate to one another. You're trying to make each other feel better. During the course of that conversation, those two people would be commiserating, essentially. Oh, it's one of those terrible late days where I don't have my coffee. On the other hand, a paper is going to be completely different. Your job as the writer of an argumentative paper is not to make your reader feel empathy for you. Your job and your obligation as a writer is to make your reader understand your argument. That is your first job. Your first and most important job. You're not supposed to pull out their empathy. You're supposed to make them understand your argument. And how can you make your reader understand your argument if the first thing you do is, notice I'm using the informal you, but it is YouTube, different genre. How can you make your reader understand your argument if the first thing you do is assume how your reader is feeling. So let's look at a really specific example of how the informal you looks on paper, and then let's compare it and contrast it with the exact same piece of writing with the informal you taken out. Now, practicing writing the informal you is not exactly the easiest thing. It's really easy to get stuck in the habit of going, you think, you feel, you know, you want, you did. It's really easy to get into the habit of just writing exactly how you speak. And so what you should do, what students should do if they are worried about overusing or using the informal you in their paper is they should write their paper, go back, find all of the yous, read it out loud, and then change all of them. It's a little bit painful, it's not exactly fun, but it makes your writing better. Let's look at an example. Okay, so we are going to compare and contrast a piece of writing, a little piece of analysis with and without the informal you. Now, it is important to note that the informal you is not always a bad thing in writing. There are circumstances that merit the informal you, but today we are talking about academic literary analysis, and in this case, you probably want to avoid the informal you. All right, so let's look at an example. This is a bit of analysis that you might find in a high school or university paper. So let's read it together. Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice makes you analyze first impressions. Mr. Darcy's comment to Mr. Bingley at the Meryton Ball in Chapter 3 makes you feel immediately that Mr. Darcy is a rude person. Later in the story, you discover that Mr. Darcy is a lot more complex than originally thought. All right, so it's not a bad analysis. It's not particularly groundbreaking or exciting, but it's not terrible. But we do have 3 informal yous. Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice makes you analyze first impression. Mr. Darcy's comment to Mr. Bingley at the Meryton Ball in Chapter 3 makes you feel immediately that Mr. Darcy is a rude person. Later in the story, you discover that Mr. Darcy is a lot more complex than originally thought. This piece of writing might be okay in a blog or in an editorial in a paper even. It's not particularly exciting or particularly strong sounding or particularly credible as a literary critique, because it sounds a bit like you're talking to your friend at a coffee shop about Pride and Prejudice. These aren't bad points that you're making, but they certainly don't feel as strong as you would want them to feel in a formal paper. So how could we change that? Well, it's really not that complicated. All you have to do is eliminate the you. So let's look at how we do that. Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice highlights the social effects of first impressions. Mr. Darcy's comment to Mr. Bingley at the Meryton Ball in Chapter 3 brands Darcy as socially awkward and perhaps rude. Later in the story, Darcy's actions reveal his character is more complex than originally shown. Okay, so I've changed more than just the you, but we're going to talk about this a little bit. So in the first place, we have this new verb, highlights, instead of makes you analyze. So instead of putting the reader of your paper in the position where Jane Austen is making you, the reader of the paper, analyze the first impressions, now we are simply pointing out that Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice highlights the social effects of first impressions. And that is a little bit stronger and a little less accusatory toward whoever might be reading your paper. So we have this verb highlights. What is highlighting? Pride and Prejudice. The novel is highlighting, and really Jane Austen through her novel. The novel is doing the action. The novel is highlighting the effects of first impressions. Now, your reader might say, I don't agree with that. I don't think that this is about first impressions at all, but that's fine. The reader of your paper is allowed to have their own opinion. However, you sound a lot more credible when you say Jane Austen's Pride and Prejudice highlights the social effects of first impressions. It's like, oh, well, yes it does. In fact, here's an example. Example 1. Mr. Darcy's comment to Mr. Bingley at the Meryton Ball in Chapter 3 brands Darcy as socially awkward and perhaps rude. Okay, that's kind of a strong verb there. He's being branded as socially awkward and perhaps rude. But if you've read the story, if you've read the novel, he kind of is. So, in this case, Mr. Darcy's comment is the noun that is doing the action of branding Darcy as socially awkward and perhaps rude. Later in the story, Darcy's actions reveal his character is more complex than originally shown. So what reveals later in the story? Darcy's actions. Darcy's actions reveal his character. Well, that is normally what happens in a book, so like I said before, this isn't particularly groundbreaking analysis, but it is a good model to show you how to get rid of the informal you. So essentially, all we've done is we have taken the you discover, you feel, you analyze out, and we've shifted our focus back to the novel, back to the story, where the character's actions highlight, brand, and reveal different truths or different patterns or different ideas in the story. And this gives your claims a lot more weight. This gives your claims a lot more merit. So it takes some practice. What I would suggest you do if you're struggling with the informal you is write out your paper as you would normally, naturally. Don't try to avoid the informal you. Then go back, read your paper again, and circle your informal yous, just like I've done in this example here. Then look at them one by one and try to think, how can I rephrase this sentence? So I'm not talking about this abstract reader of my paper or my teacher or whoever is going to read this paper. So I'm not talking about them analyzing, but instead I'm talking about the story revealing something, full stop. Then you won't need the informal you, and your paper will sound a lot stronger.